Hello and welcome to the Breathing Room. I'm so happy to invite Moushumi to the studio today. Anytime anything hurts, she's the one I call. People who are sitting need a lot of help. These days especially.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But Pilates is actually a
You
very,
can't get
very
injured.
safe
It's a safe,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I won't say you can't get injured.
Yeah, but that's what we're trying.
Right.
You know,
that's what we're trying.
Movement
but
is one of the pillars. So what do you see people coming into you? What are the consistent problems people are having?
Sitting. I'm just going to say we've talked so much about movement that just go out there, find what you like to do to move and move.
Hello and welcome to the Breathing Room. I'm Rita Date, your host. I'm a yoga and meditation coach, writer, and nutritionist. On this show, we talk about M&M, mind, nutrition, movement, 3 pillars for a healthy life. On the show, you will find practical information, all backed by science, so stay tuned. So I'm so happy to invite Moushumi to the studio today. She's been a longtime friend and has been instrumental in helping me through lots of physiological or physio issues that I needed. Anytime anything hurts, she's the one I call because she knows exactly what to do and what to tell me to get over my hump. She has been a physiotherapist for the last 30 years. She's helped countless number of people. She specializes in orthopaedics and neurological cases.
That's right.
And also now pelvic floor. The pelvic floor,
yes.
Yes.
And women's health, actually.
Women's
so it comes
health.
under the bandwagon of women's health.
Right. And I think you're one of the pioneers in Pune for physiotherapy. And then subsequently you started Pilates,
That's right. Yes.
So was that like a natural, how did that happen? How did that transition happen? I wouldn't say it's a transition because you're doing a lot of physiotherapy still,
Right.
but you've added Pilates now.
That's right. So first of all, thank you very much, Rita, for having me on board for this conversation. Yes, I would say it's been an integration. When I started with physiotherapy, it was a field which I think was very kind of very static. There were certain protocols and certain electrotherapy kind of treatments that were being used. I was very fortunate to have a mentor who made us look at things in a different perspective. So that really helped. And in my journey of doing physiotherapy, like all physiotherapists do, we work with different conditions, we are treating those conditions, and then we are giving exercises. So it's all about movement. And in that journey, I came across Pilates, and it was extremely, I think it was like my missing puzzle. So when I put that piece in, I think everything kind of made a lot more sense to me and for me. It's a beautiful, beautiful program. And I know it's like meant to be like a popular program in the sense of fitness and all of that. Mm-hmm. But it actually has a lot of science behind it. And that's when I came across my education institute in the UK, known as the Australian Physiotherapy and Pilates Institute. So I started training, doing some of their courses, integrating it with physiotherapy, and yeah, that's where it began. Yeah.
So, I know that most Pilates studios, I didn't say your background, I should say that you studied, that you have the APPI, you've done that certification, as well as Balanced Body in the US. And one interesting conversation we were having is that Pilates is an exercise. Like there are studios you can just go do your hour and get out, but yours is different. Somebody needs help in movement, a mobility issue, how does Pilates come in?
Right. So I don't know if we're very different. All I can say is that because of my physiotherapy background, the way we like to run the program, and so therefore what you're saying, there are 2 types of programs, I would say. One is what we call studio Pilates. So it's where people are going in just for fitness and no real health issues or and so we run it twofold. Of course, we have people who coming in for their fitness, sports enhancement, etc. But we also do focus on the health side. So there is an assessment that everyone goes through with either me or my other physios or instructors. And then from there, we try and position the program in such a way that it's curated for the person. So whether you're coming into a group class or you're doing personal training, we're still trying to give you what you need. And I think that's been my drive, because I want each person to improve their movement in life towards what their goals are. So, I mean, you could just be somebody who's sitting at a desk and spending 8 hours behind a computer, and you want to just feel good about sitting. Or you could be playing some high-level sport. And then how can we take this program and curate it so that it helps you in your journey?
But people who are sitting need a lot of help. These days especially.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I think fitness, movement, and the awareness of it and the motivation around it is growing in a lovely way. So
yeah, but that's what we're trying.
Right. That's what we're trying.
Movement is one of the pillars. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's people are being aware. People are taking interest to see what's their best fit, and it could be any form of exercise, but it's movement, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yoga, Pilates, dance, swim. I mean, you need to move, guys.
You need to move.
Yeah.
So one thing, Moushumi is also an entrepreneur. I have to say, Moushumis Pilates. She has a few here in Pune. She has some centers in Bombay, and they all have such quality teachers. That is one thing I admire. How you've developed it in such a way with quality. Usually when people do branch out, something gets lost. But I can see that all your teachers, I mean, you also have tell us about how you train your teachers. Right. You also train.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So when I started and I was thinking of expanding, opening other branches, I knew that the only way I would want to do that, and I should do that, is if all my instructors are aligned to my thought process. And that's when I approached APPI, which is the Australian Physiotherapy and Pilates Institute, from where I've done my training. And now I'm the holder of their license for all over India. But that helped because that was my training. And then we took it to the instructors. So all my instructors do go through many hours of not only just finishing the coursework, but doing training with us. We've set up certain protocols that we'd like for them to follow. And I also encourage all of them to constantly upskill, upgrade, do some more courses, and in different areas, so that helps. But yes, I have to say, I was fortunate to find a team of people who believed in my philosophy and therefore took to what I wanted, and yeah, I mean, it could have gone the other way. I don't know. But
no, not with you. So where do you have your studios right now?
So my flagship studio is in Pune, in Kalyani Nagar, and then we have a couple more studios, and these are collaborations with different people in Aundh, in Sopanbad, and then we have a similar kind of setup in Mumbai. So we have 3 partners there in Tardev or Haji Ali, Juhu, and Dadar.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
Right. But all our setups are within setups where we do play an emphasis on a couple of things. One is like a multi-therapy approach, so and definitely have lots of physios, because that's just me and everyone around me in that sense. But so that we have the facility to improve anyone even from injury perspectives, or if someone's come in post-surgery, or, there's always a physio backing it so that the programs are aligned in a better way.
And teachers are everything in the end of the day.
Right.
So you don't get injured, you're getting exactly what you need.
Right.
So that makes a big world of difference.
Absolutely. Right. But Pilates is actually a very safe
it's a safe,
I won't say you can't get injured. Okay, that really depends on how you're doing it, but it's a very safe program. It's got concepts, and the beauty of the institute where I did my training from is that they took the concepts of Pilates, and both the founders are physiotherapists.
Oh, I see.
So they added a lot of research to the program and then curated the program. So it's kind of gotten super fine-tuned. You know what I mean? And there's a thought process in, which exercises, how do you conduct the exercises, how do you make it more efficient for different people. So I could be doing the same exercise and there'll be a tweak for you, or for somebody with a knee surgery, or one of my prenatal clients.
So, and in fact, the Joseph Pilates, who founded Pilates, he did it for rehabilitation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as the stories go, because he was born like a frail child. He had, I don't know, but stories go, and the number of ailments he had, you're like, oh my God, really? Because he suffered from asthma, he had rheumatism, he had rickets. And then he used this program, so it was kind of self-developed and put into a perspective. And so he started from a really base level and then took it to being able to participate in all kinds of sports. So, and then he realized the value of it. So then he took it, and then he moved to the US and took it there, and then it went around in the dance and gymnast world.
Okay, and
so
actually, in war
so yeah, too? Well, he was in one of the islands where there were soldiers who were injured, and again, as the stories go, and he was assisting and helping. That was his work, and that's when he came up with the first piece of equipment, the Cadillac, in which he took all these springs and he sprung them on the bed and said, okay, you guys need to move.
Right.
So yeah, just like you said, mind and movement. So you have to move. And his I think the ward of people that he was looking after did really well.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's just like Guruji Iyengar.
Right.
He was very ill.
Absolutely.
And he came up, used the props. So illness is the mother of invention.
But in a lot of times, in a lot of places, there is a parallel that's drawn between both of them, in the sense of conceptualizing movement for health.
Okay.
That's
great.
Yeah, different eras, different countries, all of that.
But essentially, move your body.
Move your body
in the right way.
And move it in the right way. That's really important.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are the most, what do you see people coming into you? What are the consistent problems people are having?
Okay. Sitting. Sitting, because a lot of people do have desk jobs and they need to sit. So sitting does seem to pose a problem because I think it's just posture. I think eventually a lot of it comes to posture. And it's not just the static posture, like when we're sitting for long hours, but it's also dynamic postures. So when we move, are we really thinking about it? And I think that's where Pilates helps, because it's very focused towards posture and alignment. And I know everyone says it's a core training program, which it is, because it's one of the few exercise forms that actually teaches you how to engage from the deepest muscles and then work around utilization of these muscles in posture, alignment, and then movement. So coming back to your question, yes, maybe low back pain, very, very common. But it is one of the most common conditions in the world in which everyone's trying to...
Yeah, and then that's one of the most common reasons people go to yoga also.
Yeah.
Is lower back pain.
Yeah.
So I just think, all the muscles around it need to be, they have not been worked out. And core is the major one, right?
Right. So, just see, if you're sitting, okay, so you're just sitting there like that, right? You're just there. I know, sorry guys, it looks really bad, but I'm exaggerating. And then you have no use of any of your muscles, right? Because your back muscles are not working against gravity to sort of keep you there. And your tummy muscles or your abdominals are just hanging. Your shoulders are just hanging. So you've kind of in a switched off space, right? But these muscles need to work and kind of hold you against gravity. But we're not, we're like going into gravity. We're just going into gravity. And then we say, oh my God, I've done 8 hours of sitting. And then we go and play a higher intensity, or we do a high intensity movement. And that could be yoga or Pilates or tennis or whatever. But the body has been on switch off mode.
Right.
And then I take them to a high intensity switch on mode. So that disparity is probably one of a very, very common reason for injury pain, all of that. And then of course we have a lot of knee pain. Do you guys get that as well?
Yeah.
Knee pain, yeah.
More back pain, but knee pain is...
Knee pain as well, yeah.
So what's the difference between yoga and Pilates? Everybody asks me this.
That's true. Actually, there's a world of a difference, right? It's completely different. Pilates works on changing the posture. I think in yoga, you're using certain postures for certain benefits. Pilates works more on mobility, activation of the core. I think so we work with what is called dynamic stretching. So you go in and out of the movement continuously. But yoga is more static, like you go into a pose and you'll hold it there. I think what's common is the breath work. So the breath work is different, but it's common in the fact that
you need
both emphasize it.
Right.
So that I think is the beauty of both of them, because there is, we just think about breath and we think about calming ourselves. But if you actually look at the biomechanics of breathing and you take it to the diaphragm and what the diaphragm does, I think it would change your perspective. You know what I mean? So that's the common ground. And then of course with Pilates, if you go on the equipment, then you can go to high resistance training, some cardio work.
It's more a physical this thing.
And then so it's completely different. And I think with Pilates, we don't really focus on certain like medical benefits like yoga has with different poses. And I don't know, you're the expert on that, so I don't want to comment on that. But I've never heard anyone say that Pilates can help your digestive issues, for example. Yoga is not just asana is a part of yoga. Right.
Yoga is much more. So if you're talking only of asana, then you can maybe do a little comparison.
Right.
But I have to tell you this, somebody I know went I think to your studio, and they had back pain, and they were showing me, I learned this bridge and it's very different from a yoga bridge. So it works different muscles. So can you explain that a little bit?
Oh yeah, sure. So the bridge as a movement in Pilates is actually, it's twofold. So we work on rounding of the lower back and then firing from the buttock muscles. Okay. So we're working the glutes and we're working the lumbar spine into what's called flexion. Whereas the bridge, as I know it from yoga, is more of a hyperextension of the whole back. But the common part of it is that you're mobilizing the spine in one direction or the other. Yeah. Right? And then in the bridge in Pilates, we only go up to the rib cage. So from the neck to the mid back or your cervicothoracic region is a neutral. But in yoga, it's a full extension. So some differences.
So I just thought that was interesting, and I was just surprised a person could even understand it. that he, you know.
They may have asked, they may have said, but in yoga we do this. We're
Yeah.
like, yes, you do that in yoga. Right now, let's get you working. And also we work like you're using the bridge when people have low back pain, and we want to bring about lumbar spine mobility. So sometimes there's a target
Yes, you
to
target
that movement.
Right, okay.
And we want to create what's called a dissociation. We want to say, can you keep your thoracic spine or your mid back in neutral and move only from the lumbar spine? Because I want to create that mobility and that dissociation, right? Because when we do a forward bend, we bend and we're using the entire spine. But through the day, I'm not moving like a log. I might want to reach here, but my lumbar spine doesn't need to move, and vice versa.
Right.
So we want to also teach people to create a dissociation, and this has to be automatic. You can't be thinking.
It's muscle memory, yeah. It has to be,
muscle and movement.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're trying to say, okay, you can't, and you're not going to think about this all the time. So let's activate the mobility inherently. Let's then create muscle work to support it, and then take it from. So Pilates, as we teach it at our studios, really follows what's called motor learning. So it's you're getting to understand the movement. You are working with a lot of sensory input to build that movement, so that we take it from a conscious perception of it to like a subconscious or unconscious perception of the movement, where you're not thinking about it all the time. Okay. So a lot of times my clients come and say, oh, do I need to keep on engaging from the tummy muscles or the core? And I'm like, no, because the baseline core muscle is a muscle called transversus abdominis, and it is a muscle that is supposed to stay turned on. It's either on or it's off. So people who have low back pain,
it's off.
It switches off.
Right.
And then no one turns it on for them. So we turn it on, then we teach them how to keep it on. So it's going like from a conscious to I don't want to say unconscious, but subconscious movement. And then it's turned on. And then we don't have to think about it. So we have to reach that level of movement. And then I find that if you learn these small nuances within Pilates, like people keep asking me, oh, should we not do yoga? Do I need to stop yoga or the gym or this? And I'm like, no, you don't need to. You just need to take what I'm teaching you and put it wherever you go.
Yeah, use it in every movement you do. Use it,
yeah.
Right? Okay. So if somebody has limited time, let's say they have only 4 days a week they can work out, 45 minutes to an hour. Let's say it's a woman over 40. What do you recommend her? Now, I know that in your studio you have done some talks on menopause and perimenopause. So you have that clientele. You have what do you suggest women do?
So when we're just talking about a more like over 40, I'm hoping they haven't hit any of those yet.
Yeah, I know there was. Yeah.
But I think for anyone, you have to create a balance. So yes, of course, after 40 or 45 or 50, when you're going down that road, you want to add in some strength training, which you could do with Pilates on the equipment.
The reformer does this,
The
right?
reformer, because you have spring loading,
right?
And so you can do strength training. But the thing that Pilates doesn't do is it doesn't hit high level of strength training like you can at the gym with like good load and free weights, and it doesn't have as much cardio, right? So I can create like a jump board workout, which would be cardio, but inherently it's not like a cardio workout. So it again depends on the instructor. So I think in a week, if you want to space it out, first of all, anything that you do should be done at least twice a week. Okay. So I feel that any form of exercise has a benefit for you if you at least go work twice in a week. And I think even research supports that.
Yes.
So let's say they want to, if they want to like work, if they're doing twice a week Pilates, they can do twice a week yoga and add maybe
2 days of
days of cardio. Or if they want to do Pilates with a gym workout, or Their cardio could be the sport that they play. So there's a lot that you can blend in.
So just do it. Make sure you do it.
Yeah, but I also think
4 to 5 days a week.
That you can even cardio is quite separate, I feel. So you can do it on a day that you've done something else. So it's not like you do yoga and you can't add cardio in the same day. So it's the same with Pilates. You can do Pilates and then add some cardio in the same day. Like if you said, if you have only 4 days of the week and you want to cram it in, but you should get in some cardio, some strength training, and then a bit
you
of...
should. I mean, I know I'm just giving that example, but ideally you should do something every day.
You should do some... No, 4 days is great. I'm saying 4 days is great. But try and sort of break it up in a way that you can do maybe a half hour of Pilates and then some cardio.
Okay.
You can club it in different ways.
Right.
You can club it in different ways. But these are the 3 or 4 areas that you kind of try and hit in a week. So
now I asked about women, but let's talk about men. Men, you have a lot of male clients. Is Pilates good for men?
Oh my God. It's so good for men. It's like excellent for men. And I think the reason being is that there are very few men who are flexible. I don't know if it's just in India, so excuse me guys if you're out there in the world and super mobile, but I think it's also got to do with a more sedentary lifestyle. And then the tendency to want to go and work out because it's like,
Yeah, it's a manly thing to lift weights and
gym bro, kind of thing. Yeah, but it really helps in giving them flexibility and mobility, right? And I think when we get older, I think when you're playing jarring sports like tennis, or it helps to work on mobility. And then the one point that I think I've seen a lot of. A lot of the men that I have seen in my studio are golf players. And as much as it's a no impact kind of a sport and, it's walking and there's no jarring effect, there is a lot of core control and a lot of spinal mobility that actually gives them the swing. And Pilates has helped a lot of them. So, I think...
Yeah, I know one person.
I know. I know him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's really good for men for the mobility part of it. Like flexibility, you can do a lot of programs, right? But in terms of, and again, in terms of the dissociation that I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go back to my golf example, right? When you are rotating into your swing, you need to rotate from the spine and then you need to generate power from that movement. So that's a combination of good thoracic mobility, good stability at the pelvis, and power generated from the core. So you see how all of these words fit into what I've been describing.
So the golf players that do come to you, for example, is it that they don't do any other exercise? That's why this happens, or is it because
I think a lot of them
doing it swinging wrongly, or
no, I don't think it's about the technique. It's just about the stiffness, which probably affects their technique. But I also think it's not like they're not doing anything else. I mean, a lot of them go to the gym, play a different sport, but I just feel inherently they've worked more on. So even if you're playing, say, tennis, right? You have to understand that tennis involves different muscles and different movements versus golf. So you've got to get a general mobility and then do everything that you want to do.
For the audience who may not know, can you explain the difference between mobility and flexibility?
Sure. So mobility is when we are moving from the joint. So we're looking at the stiffness component in a joint, and flexibility is more soft tissue. So we're looking at muscles and the pliability of the muscles and how much range we get from there. But generally, flexibility is not that much. I mean, it is an issue, but just comparing the two. So when I talk about mobility, we have let's talk about the shoulder, because that's the easiest place to understand it, right? So I have a ball and socket joint. So the ball fits into the socket. Now, if the ball isn't moving well in the socket, its mobility is affected.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So then, if it's going to like move like that, then however much I try to kind of pull onto my muscles and stretch, but the joint doesn't have the inherent play to move.
Okay.
Right? So
Yes.
that's kind of the difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. That's good. Because a lot of people don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I know. It's yeah.
Mobility is kind of, like you can move.
Yeah,
more.
yeah. I know. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, but that's the technical explanation.
Yeah, explanation.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good explanation.
Thank you.
And so, in your practice, when people come to you for when they come for Pilates, do they know that it can help you in physiotherapy, or you add Pilates after they've come to you for physiotherapy?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if they come to me for physiotherapy and I see certain areas that I feel that they would benefit with, that's when I recommend that come in and do a program, again, for a specific goal. Once you reach that goal, you decide whether you want to continue with Pilates as one of your fitness workouts or not. When people come for Pilates, they may not need physiotherapy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just an exercise.
Yeah, but we still do an assessment because, like I'm saying, I want to check on how I can improve their mobility, their flexibility, and all of that, and then target their program towards their lifestyle. So that's what we like to do.
How do you do this assessment? Like,
how do we do it? It's a physical assessment.
Physical assessment.
It's an absolute,
okay.
yeah. So we look at the posture, we look at movements, we have a like literally a form in which I'm writing notes, putting down details. We have a body chart, and so I'm drawing little dots and crosses and things like that. So we work with that. Yeah.
Okay. How have you seen physiotherapy through the years? I know you started 30 years ago, from whatever that year is till now.
Are you trying to get my age out on the screen?
Everybody else already knows your age, but they cannot guess by looking at you. I'm on the 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years is already telling them where I could be. Yeah. So like I said, physiotherapy, when I was studying it, was already existing a lot in the world, and a lot of pioneers, and like worldwide.
Yeah, but not in India.
In India as well. Really? In India as well.
And you went to the orthopaedic doctor. You didn't see a physiotherapist. I mean, I don't remember
having one.
Now there's.
I think that's just a trend. I think that's a trend.
Okay.
I think now doctors and physios, maybe they work in the same setup. That's a trend, right? But let's see how it went. Like it was a field which was for pain management. And was for movement management. So if you came from a neurological background, or you had maybe it could even be working with people who've had amputations, or all over. It could be cardiovascular, it could be respiratory. So it could be any of that, right? And the physio's role was then to manage movement. Right, so we worked with the acuteness of the condition, and then we tried to bring about. So if it was pain, then we used a lot of electrotherapy modalities. You've heard of IFT and shortwave diathermy and so on and so forth. For a while, it got stuck to that. So you'd go to a physio and they would do 10 sessions off, right? And then slowly somewhere over there, they forgot to give the movement. Okay, at least that's what I felt. And then I think then it's taken a big turn now. So now movement has become a primary addition in a physiotherapist's program prescription or guidance. So that's one big change that has come about. Secondly, I think it was a very referral based program. Your medical practitioner said you need physio, and then somebody would go to physio. Now I think it's changed. So people know when they need to go to a physio, and then they go to their physio, directly. So these I think are two great positive changes in what I have seen. I think a lot of research is coming in. So now physios can, they're working with not only, they were working in a lot of fields, but now it's kind of become a specialization. So you can find your program or your specialization and work with either neuro cases or pediatrics and so it's becoming more into a specialization and an area of specialization. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts you would like to tell the audience?
Well, I'm just going to say we've talked so much about movement that just go out there, find what you like to do to move. And thank you very much, Rita, for having me.
Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? People can find me, like you said, on social media. So we go by Moushumis Pilates. So everything about us is on moushumspilates.com on our website. And then Instagram,
YouTube,
Facebook, LinkedIn.
I'll put all the info in the show notes.
Yeah.
So you'll get all that.
Yeah, and we also have a YouTube channel. So you can look at some of the exercises. And we put up a lot of blogs on our website. So if you guys just want to read, you can take a look at different conditions and read about us. Read about that condition. And then we've tried to keep a matching YouTube video with that. So you can see how to move for a particular condition or reason. Yeah.
Cool. Moushumispilates.com. Check it out.
Thank you,
Moushumi.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much.